Red Star Radio. Voice of the revolution.
Problems that I see coming up with identity politics, particularly online in American-centric or Western-centric circles, is mainstream American identity politics, I think, kind of suffers from the same problems as mainstream American politics in general. I think it was Chomsky that said this, that there's basically two opposing camps in American politics that engage in very intense debates with each other on very narrow, limited grounds, which they disagree on, right? Like the Democrats hate the Republicans or the liberals hate the conservatives, but how much do they really disagree on? You know, it's a very narrow Overton window. While the accepted arena for American politics is Washington, D.C., it seems like a lot of times that the accepted arena for identity politics is often capitalist consumer culture. For example, when the boss of the fast food restaurant Chick-fil-A came out against same-sex marriage, it basically became the duty of these social conservatives to eat at Chick-fil-A because they had this homophobic boss. And so they just had to support him. On the other hand, when a company comes out with an ad that features like an interracial or same-sex couple or something like that, it suddenly becomes like this big opportunity for celebration for these liberals championing the cause. Every pro-gay company is a victory for them, no matter how blatant the pinkwashing is. You know what I mean by pinkwashing?
Yeah.
It's a term that it's used a lot against Israel. Basically, in that context, it's just homo-nationalism, but basically it's just an acceptance of homosexuality for the purpose of selling products. So the trend that I see with these is that, to quote Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the message, that consumer culture is the arena for politics, and it's how we discuss social issues. Because even if no matter whether you're pro-gay or anti-gay, you're still expressing it through capitalist consumer choices.
It's pure ideology.
So the problem here is not that progress isn't still progress when it's happening through avenues which don't ultimately lead to total liberation of the group, but rather that there often isn't much of a holistic liberation in the minds of these activists to begin with. So in the words of RCP Canada's Comrade Mawfawad Paul, on his blog MLM Mayhem, he said, "Only Marxism, which delves into the material foundations of a given mode of production, can provide us with this insight. Postmodernism only speaks of the surface reality, and due to its concern with the surface, it refuses to grapple with deep material structures, because quite often the tactic, especially online, is to attack a symbol of oppression, but attacking a symbol doesn't attack the root cause of what a symbol represents. Doing these things without a clear explanation of what the problem is caused by or how it manifests itself, it only leads to, I think, a very shallow understanding of the problem at best, and at worst it leads to reformist illusions that we just need more women CEOs or CEOs of color or whatever. I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton as this huge step forward for women, even though there's still income inequality and she's still going to bomb the shit out of women in the third world. Well, what kind of feminist victory is that exactly? It becomes really bad tactic because it seems like these are all that the reactionaries see, and reactionaries often attack so-called social justice warriors and call them radical feminists, of course not really knowing what radical feminism as an ideology is. The irony is that they're often not radical enough. What these reactionaries are calling radicalism is usually simply just a militant rhetoric. So the problem is not that these activists are radical for condemning some celebrity for what they said on Twitter, but usually that their condemnation has usually a pretty tenuous connection to social oppression, and sometimes even a shallow understanding of how that oppression works. Of course, part of this, I think, is exacerbated by the media. The corporate media has its mandate to sell as much ad space as possible, so they sell us a world where social struggles exist as flash-in-the-pan Twitter hashtags, rather than long-running movements against systemic power.
Right.
So sometimes even particularly unscrupulous, Gawker-type journalists even come up with some exaggerated or even imaginary examples of social oppression just to sell clicks for a sensationalized headline. Doing so-and-so is problematic, and here's why. Maybe it is, but oftentimes it's some kind of sensational headline that's going to get them more clicks or something.